Hello and welcome to this presentation. I'm Zane Miller and my partner for this project was Tiam Rashad. She will be presenting in the second half of this video. This video is about two films about the Boylan sisters, Anne of a Thousand Days made in 1969 and The Other Boylan Girl made in 2008, both films telling the Boylan sisters' relations to King Henry VIII. Today we're just going to be kind of looking at the two movies themselves, not so much the background of the films, because these films are riddled with many historical inaccuracies as it goes to history. Some playing around with the age of the sisters, and how related they were to King Henry VIII. And so, but we're just going to look at the movie and what the director decided to put in the film that made the film more accurate towards the time. The plot, very straightforward plot. King Henry VIII wants to divorce his wife Catherine. She's failed to give him a son. He really does need one, and is already having an affair with Mary Boylan, the older of the Boylan sisters. But one day he sees Anne and becomes enamored with her. This is a great dance scene at the beginning where he just kind of sees her, and it's very gracious. He then woos his way into her life, and they actually marry. But she too fails to give him a son, as she gave him Elizabeth I, which became the Great Elizabeth I. The marriage then falters throughout the film, and he wants to get rid of her. He tries to slander her name by slandering her faithfulness to him. They have an adultery trial as he pertains to fake an adultery situation. So she is executed at the end of the film in a great execution scene. Elizabeth I, she's a toddler at the end of the film, so that plays into it. The truth claim in this film, I was surprised that there's not an explicit truth claim at the beginning nor the end of the film. It's implied that what we are seeing is true story of King Henry VIII's marriage to Anne. One thing that I really found interesting is it fails to mention that the screenplay is based on a play made in 1948 by Maxwell Anderson. I think it was a little distrustful maybe that it didn't pay homage to that play and Anderson himself. The visual accuracy, the costuming was great, very fantastic. There's two pictures right here on the left side of the screen. Richard Burton dressed almost exactly like King Henry VIII in that photo. One thing I really liked is the building right there. It's almost an exact portrait of the building of the castle that he lived in. And the headdress, they paid attention to the headdress of Anne Boylan herself. She wore that headdress very many times. There's very many paintings with her with that headdress. Continued the execution scene. The execution scene in the film was was pretty accurate, really. She's wearing almost the exact same headdress. He almost has the exact same sword. I thought they looked at maybe this painting a lot as it pertains to that execution scene. The oral accuracy, accents were given, were very good. Most of the English actors themselves, so the accents were very good as it goes to England's history. Guinevere, the actress that played Anne Boylan, had a smooth accent, didn't seem fake as she's a Canadian actress. So there would be usually cannon fire at the end of a public execution. I thought that was very telling of how much what they wanted to put in the film. The music was also very accurate, very noble. The dance scene, very gracious dance scene. It quit when Nobles exited. I thought that was very good. I thought that was very accurate. So this is some of the music that was in the film. I thought it was just very telling of the dance scene itself. The chronological history, very smooth transition. It starts with the flashback and it presents itself, or it starts with the present and then goes into a flashback. I thought that was very great, and there was a very smooth transition between there. It makes it seem that he's just telling a story to us, and it gets us all the way up to that point. And my favorite thing is that it didn't show that original scene from the beginning. It just kind of goes in order of what we wanted to see. So I thought that was really good. They really didn't need to see him talking to his clerk again, and like that scene didn't need to be told again. So I thought that was good. Thematic history, influences of the king's power. He's able to carry out executions. Sir Thomas More, she kind of talked him into that. And the religious connotations, he played around with the religion and divorce. He was able to divorce Catherine and almost divorce Anne, basically. And I thought his power, he did have a lot of power back then to do so. In fact, he, in history, even changed from Catholic to Protestant so he could divorce Catherine. So, the jealousy amongst the mistresses, she was very jealous, Anne was, of Catherine, and then Catherine jealous of her being in the castle. Some inaccurate stuff. I thought Catherine's very pale in paintings. She's very pale, and Irene Papa's skin color wasn't, she wasn't very pale enough, maybe, or her red head. Some of the meetings, I don't think that he would have met Anne before the execution. I don't think that would have also happened. I'm gonna flip it over to my partner, Tian Bershad. She's going to be talking about the other Boleyn girl. Some of the themes that are discussed in both films that she's going to discuss is the portrayal of Anne herself. Some of the themes that I may have talked about, which was greed and jealousy. And the portrayal of Anne, she's kind of a victim in Anne of a Thousand Days. In the execution scene, she's very sorry about what she's not even done, and she hasn't really done anything, but she's very sorry, and she kind of plays the victim. So that's a theme that runs out throughout history. So thanks for joining me. I'm gonna flip it over to my partner, and we'll get this thing going. Thank you.
The Other Boleyn Girl is a story of greed, lust, love, and betrayal. The story that takes place in the 16th century surrounds a family consisting of a mother, Elizabeth Boleyn, and father, Thomas Boleyn, who are grooming their 3 children, which includes one son named George Boleyn, their eldest daughter, Anne, and their youngest, Mary, for the royal future. However, most of their lives seem to be in the palm of their bitter and malicious uncle's hands, who is known as Duke of Norfolk, who begins to distort most of their future before it could even begin. Through this film, in this family, what is seen is a pattern of mistrust with outsiders, false hope in the midst of infidelity, and wins and losses during childbirth. The truth claim occurs mainly at the end of the film, where the credits describe the fate of each character. Sir Thomas, their father, dies. Duke of Norfolk is imprisoned, and the next 3 generations of males in his family are executed for treason. King Henry breaks away from the Catholic Church, and Mary and William eventually marry and never return to the court. The two also end up raising Anne and Henry's only daughter, who ends up reigning over England for 45 years as Queen Elizabeth. With visual accuracy, the story takes place in the 16th century. It is made evident with the old churches, the court, vintage clothing, and the king's arrival and announcement when he comes. The 16th century life is also shown privately when the queen is bathed by her servants and publicly when George and Anne are beheaded for their crimes. The oral accuracy is given with their accents that are fitting for the place and time, and the men announcing the king is come upon his arrival as well. Also, when the citizens gather, their loud, overbearing voices add to the setting as well. Chronological accuracy occurs at many points throughout this film. The man and woman marries, consummates the marriage, then bears children, with his son being the end goal so that he is heir to the throne after his father. Also, with chronological accuracy, I found it odd that both Mary and Anne's first husbands seem to have disappeared towards the middle of the film and eventually were nowhere to be found by the end of the film. Proper marriage protocols that weren't implemented threw me for a whirl as well. This includes babies born out of wedlock improper annulments, and constant infidelities. Especially when King Henry tells Anne, "I will never lie with my wife or see your sister again," a sister that he just had a baby with outside of marriage. With thematic accuracy, the main theme of this film is greed. Everything seems to be give me, push, 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 take, take, take. From beginning to end, there seems to be a reoccurrence of the need to be at the top or the one in power, especially on the uncle's part. As the father and uncle create more and more schemes to rise to money and power, the pattern of deceit, hurt, and pain comes out along with it, affecting everyone around them. However, I believe the theme is appropriate at the time because, as a low class citizen or even a middle class citizen, the idea of marrying your daughter a rich king is actually so much easier done than said. At many points, there also seemed to be no strategy going into all these agreements. Everything was done in a rush with no regards to feelings at all. The overall accuracy of this film proved itself to be very successful in my opinion. The movie was executed so well, and I believe it touched all points of accuracy.